Hi, I'm TJ, and sheet layouts in Madry are a core part of making your production planning process more efficient. Sheet layouts allow you to reformat a sheet to be able to produce a different version of that document. So, for an example, let's look at this general session day one. If I load that, you can see I have some full width cells here. I have video roles. I have intros for speakers, walk-offs, another video roll, intro for speaker, and kind of repeating all the way down to the end. You'll notice on my intro cues, I have an announce cell here, which gives our announcer basically their script. So everywhere on the intros, we have this announce script here. This is great, but for the ease of my announcer, I want to basically provide them with a stripped down version of this rundown where they only have kind of the intro and the presentation, and they don't have anything else, so they don't get confused or spend a lot of time or just a lot of visual clutter that they don't need to see. So let's go ahead and do that. This is accomplished with a feature called Layouts. So I will create my first layouts in the layout tab here, and I'll call this announce summary. I'll create that. And I'm given a grid here, and this corresponds to how rows work in regular sheets in Madry, but is going to be basically a layout for cells that get applied to rows. So I'll go ahead and create a cell here. By default, this is getting the category title. I'm going to give it item number because I do want the announcer to see the item numbers, and then I'll make this a little bit skinnier here where it's the item number is going to take up less space. I'll make a cell next to that for our start time, just so they have a reference on the time. I'll make another one for title, so perfect default, and we'll make that one 3 cells wide, and then finally, I will make the announce cell here, and we'll make that the rest of the width of the row here. So a few things that the layouts do is they allow you to force some of the reformatting of the sheet. So if I open up my sheets tab in a new tab here, and I go to back to this journal session day one, we can see that in all of the title cells, we have this big text. I don't necessarily want it to be huge for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the cell for the title, and I'm going to override the text formatting, and I'm going to make it size 14. Same thing for the announce cell, but I'm going to make it a little larger just to make it stand out. And we'll do that. And then start time as well. We'll match the title 14, and we'll leave the item number B because we'll let that be big. Another thing I can do is if I look at my project here, some of the rows have borders at the bottom. So you can see that kind of separates the rows. I want to turn that off in the layout. So on the layout, I'll go to layout border and hit remove, and that will force the border to be invisible. And then you can also see some of the cells have their label shown, which is their category. And I want to force that to not show up. So on that cell, I have selected, I'll go to category label, and I would say force hide category label, and I'll do that for all of these cells here. Great. So that's the layout. That's the layout row. I'll come back to my sheets, and I will click on the 3 dots for the sheet I want to add the layout to, and I would say create sheet layout, and I'll call it announcer. I'll just call it announce summary. We'll call it the same thing as the layout. I'll go ahead and create that. So jumping in, we can see our kind of things that we've overridden in terms of the font size have applied, etc. One thing that I'm seeing here that I don't necessarily want are some of these rows where there's not anything that's relevant for the announcer. And the way we can do that is basically hide rows by their numbers. So for instance, this row number 1 here, I can come onto the side menu and I can say row 1, and I can basically exclude it from the layout. Same thing with row 2. For row 3, we can exclude that. So we'll come down, let's see, row 7. what else? 14. And then coming down to the bottom, we have 21, 22, and 23. Now, the way these are hidden, it's attached to the row itself, not necessarily the number. So if you were to add more rows in here, you're not going to have to go back and find these. The number is just a helpful way to kind of pair them together to know which one to edit. And then what I'll do is I'll get rid of that menu. I'll come up to view here and I will unclick show row numbers. And then you can see we've got just a really simple layout here that is going to work for our announcer. And actually, you may even want to get rid of the walk-offs here to where you just see fewer things. But where this becomes very handy is I can now export this. And I will, let's see here, make the font size maybe just a tiny bit smaller. See this fit on one page. When we go down one more, 14. Great. And that's that. Actually, looking at this, may want to do row borders. So let's go ahead and come back and we'll force the row border to be on. So let's go back to our layout and let's do just the bottom. We'll do very light border. And that will then hopefully, yep, there it is. Great. Give us that ability. Now, if we export this PDF, we have really simply, we know we have 14. Let's see your font size 14. We've really simply now basically given a document that our announcer can reference. That's super handy, whether they view it just here directly in the app itself, or if it's exported as a PDF for them. A lot of the value here is that you won't need to go back and make updates. Anytime, something changes in here. So if you're adjusting the script in the sheet itself, that's going to reflect in his layout in real time. And, there's no need to sync these documents now. Likewise, one maybe exception there is if you do add, let's say there's now 2 video rolls at the top here, and we go back to his layout, we are going to see that. So anyone who has the ability to kind of load this is going to be able to make those adjustments, but they can basically go in there, turn that off. Now they're distraction free, and they'll be able to view that. A plus about layouts here is if I had many different layouts, I can assign each row a specific layout. So I could make all kinds of different ones. Another thing I can do is just use the original row. So I can just completely, let the original row show. I can use the default layout, which is here, or in the case where I wanted to maybe adjust, on a per row basis, I could have multiple layouts that were created in the project and apply them to rows as needed. And that's how layouts in Madry work.